One strike, no blink. The training hall on Station Z9 echoed with loud voices, metal boots, and the clash of practice weapons. Alien cadets from 23 different species trained here, all chosen from across the galaxy for one reason. They were the best. Fast, strong, ruthless. Most of them believed they were unbeatable. In a corner of the hall sat a human girl. Small, quiet, and still. Her name was Arya. She didn't speak. She didn't make eye contact. She never smiled or argued. For the last 2 months, she showed up to every combat class, listened to the instructors, and trained alone. Most of the others thought she was weak. Or maybe just slow. She's not even built for war, one alien snorted. Look at her. Soft arms, no claws, no fangs. They laughed behind her back. But Arya never reacted. One day, everything changed. The instructor, a thick-scaled creature with 4 arms named Commander Drakes, stepped forward with a booming voice. Combat pairs for today. First fight Arya versus Vakar. The room went silent for a moment. Via Core was the top trainee in class. An apex warrior from the brutal planet Trenzar, 8 feet tall, covered in black armored plates. He had already defeated 7 cadets without even breathing hard. Someone whispered, "She's dead." Vasher grinned wide, showing razor teeth. "You sure about this, Commander? I don't want to break her little bones." Commander Drakes growled, "That's your problem if you underestimate her. Begin when ready." The circle cleared. Arya stepped forward slowly, no fear on her face, but no emotion either. Her hands were at her sides. Her eyes were focused on Vakar. Unblinki. Kor circled her like a predator. He flexed his arms, stomped the floor, growled loudly, trying to scare her. She didn't move. "You're in the wrong place, little human," he said, stepping closer. "Go back to your soft world." Arya stayed silent. Then, like lightning, he charged. His massive arm came flying straight toward her. The impact would have shattered a metal post, but it didn't hit, because Arya moved. In a split second, she ducked, twisted her body, and slammed her palm into the side of his neck. Not hard, not flashy, but perfect. Vako froze. His arms dropped. His knees bent. His entire body fell forward like a heavy tree. He collapsed onto the mat. Unconscious. The room exploded with shock. Impossible. No way. She didn't even blink. Commander Drakes rushed forward and scanned. Vasher with a device. Alive, stable, but knocked out completely. Arya stepped back to her corner and sat down calm as ever. The cadets stared at her like she was some kind of ghost. One alien girl muttered, She took him down with one move." Whispers spread like wildfire across the station. That night, in a dark command room high above the training hall, 3 high-ranking officers watched the footage again and again. Rewind, slow motion, frame by frame. Arya's movement wasn't just fast, it was flawless. The strike had hit a precise nerve cluster used in elite military kill tech. But she had no enhancements, no cyberware, just pure human instinct and training. Where did she learn that? One officer asked. No one had an answer. Back in her quarters, Arya sat on her bed, staring at the wall. Her hands were still. Her mind wasn't. She remembered her childhood, the fire, the tests, the long nights with no food. She remembered the cold voice of her last Earth trainer saying, "You are the blade. You are not allowed to fail." She had passed every test. She had survived every mission. But this place? This was just the beginning. Her eyes closed. The next day, no one looked at her the same. Cadets moved out of her way. Vakar didn't speak a word when he saw her in the mess hall. His pride was broken, and he knew it, but Arya didn't care. About pride. She was here for something else. Something far bigger than training. And soon, they would all find out what it was. Behind her eyes was a storm. The fight was over. But the whispers had only begun. In every hallway of stations 8 and 9, cadets talked about the silent human girl. Some called it luck. Others said it was trickery. But deep inside, most of them felt the same cold truth. Arya was dangerous. Even Vaku, once the strongest in class, kept his distance now. He hadn't said a word since she dropped him with that one perfect strike. But Arya? She was the same. Still quiet. Still watching. Still sitting alone during meals and training sessions. Not a single word escaped her lips. Until one night, someone came knocking. The door opened with a hiss. Commander Drake stood outside. His forearms were crossed. "You're coming with me," he said. Arya didn't ask why. She followed him through dark tunnels below the training hall, tunnels most cadets didn't even know existed. There, deep underground, they entered a silent room with glowing screens. And silent officers. Drake's nodded toward a screen. "They want to see the real you." On the screen, a new challenge, a simulation test. Not just any test. Level 13. Most cadets never made it past level 7. "Step in," the officer said. "Let's see what's behind that calm face." Arya entered the simulation pod. A moment later, her body disappeared and her mind dropped into a world of fire. She was in a ruined city. Buildings crumbled around her. Smoke filled the sky. Suddenly, shadow creatures appeared. Tall, fast, with sharp claws. They came at her one by one. She didn't panic. She didn't scream. She moved like water. Every strike she made was clean. Every dodge was perfect. Her face never changed. The simulation sent more. Faster enemies. Stronger. Smarter. Arya kept moving. Every breath controlled. Every motion planned. Then, the system changed the level again. And something strange happened. The new enemy stepped out from the smoke. It was her. Another Arya. Same face. Same body. Same cold eyes. But this one smiled. In the control room, the officers leaned forward. "The system created a perfect clone," one whispered. "Let's see how the real one handles herself now." The two Aryas circled each other. Neither spoke. Then, they attacked at the same time. Fists met. Feet clashed. Sparks flew from every move. For the first time, Arya felt resistance. A clone moved exactly like her, because it was her. Strike after strike. Block after block. The fight became a blur. Inside the simulation, Arya's breathing grew heavier. Her heart pounded. The clone smirked again. "Is that all?" it whispered. Arya paused. And then, she did something the clone couldn't. She remembered. She saw a burning street on old Earth. Her brother hiding under rubble. Her promise, "I'll come back for you." She saw the training room. The pain. The silence. The lonely years. She saw everything she lost. And she used it. Her pain became power. The clone didn't understand emotion. But Arya did. With one final burst, she stepped in, twisted, and struck the clone's chest. Not with anger, but with purpose. The clone froze. Then shattered into light. The simulation ended. Arya opened her eyes. The pod hissed open. She stepped out, calm. But her hands were shaking just a little. Commander Drakes was watching. "So," he said slowly, "you're more than just quiet." She didn't answer. But behind her eyes, a storm raged. A storm full of memories, strength, and something far deeper, a mission. Something no one else on this station knew. Yet, double quotes, the test no one survives. The simulation ended. But Arya's name now echoed through every level of station. Zeta-9. Her clone test had been recorded, reviewed, and sent to Command. Some called it a miracle. Some called it a mistake. But one thing was clear to everyone. This human girl was no longer a mystery. She was a threat. The next morning, Arya stood in the training yard. Her boots were still dusty, her uniform plain. But now, cadets didn't mock her. They whispered and stared. Even Vacker didn't look her in the eyes anymore. Commander Drakes approached with a tight jaw. "You're being sent for a special test," he said. "Not part of training, not optional." Arya simply nodded. She was escorted deep into the restricted zone of the station far below the combat halls. Beneath even the simulation cores. She entered a dark chamber. Cold, silent. A single chair stood in the middle. From the shadows, an officer stepped forward. Tall, armored, and wearing a golden crest. High Commander Setral. "You survived the clone test," he said flatly. "You showed precision, speed, and control. But we want more." He turned toward a sealed door. "We want to know if your soul breaks." The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a dark tunnel. And at the end, Level 0. Level 0 was not a simulation. It was a real test zone. A forgotten battlefield filled with leftover weapons, broken machines, and the failed experiments of other alien programs. No one had cleared it. No one had even returned. Arya stepped in without a word. The doors locked behind her. Inside, the tunnel was quiet. Too quiet. Then a flicker of light appeared. One drone, two drones. Three. They flew fast, scanning her body, testing reaction speed. Suddenly, they attacked. Lasers, blades, electric pulses. Arya moved like wind. She flipped, dodged, and twisted through the narrow space. Her hands moved faster than the eye could follow. Her face was still, but her body was pure chaos. She disabled the drones, one by one without killing, until something bigger arrived. A mech, old, rusted, but still armed. It recognized her heat signature and activated. Red lights lit up. A rocket launcher turned toward her. Arya ran. Not away, but forward. She grabbed a broken pipe, flipped over the machine, and shoved the pipe into its core. Sparks exploded. The mech collapsed. But now the tunnel was caving in. Dust filled the air. Arya covered. Her mouth pushed through rubble and found a metal staircase. Blood ran down her arm, a burn mark on her side. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Not yet. At the top of the staircase, she reached a door with an ancient Earth symbol on it. A broken planet, surrounded by fire. She paused. Her breath slowed. Fingers touched the symbol like it was an old memory. And then, the door opened. Inside was not another enemy. It was a room, with a chair. And on that chair sat a man, old, wrinkled, human. He opened one eye slowly. "You made it?" he whispered. Arya froze. "Who are you?" He smiled. "Someone who waited 5 years for someone like you." He handed her a metal chip. Project Aegis was never shut down. It was buried. "You're not the last. You're just the first to return." Suddenly, alarms blared across the station above. Commander Drakes stood in the control room. "She reached the final chamber?" He whispered. "That's impossible." High Commander Setral narrowed his eyes. "No, that's exactly what Earth designed her to do." Even her clone surrendered. The lights in the chamber flickered. Arya stood still, the metal chip in her hand glowing faintly. The old man, tired, fragile, and forgotten, looked at her like he was staring at the past. "This chip," he said, "is not just data. It's a key, a memory, a message from Earth to the galaxy." Arya didn't blink. "What does it unlock?" she asked softly. The old man leaned forward. "You." Back on the surface of Station Zeta 9, alarms kept echoing. Screens showed Arya's location deep in a part of the station that should have been sealed forever. High Commander Setchel slammed his fist on the console. Send retrieval units. Commander Drakes hesitated. If she carries the Aegis chip, we may not want to stop her. Setchel growled. If she leaves that chamber alive, she'll change everything. Inside the chamber, the old man pressed a hidden switch under the chair. The room changed. Walls opened. Lights shifted. And behind Arya, a platform rose from the floor. On it stood another, Arya, but this one was different from the clone in the simulation. Her body was mechanical. Her skin was metallic. But the eyes, they were the same. It was a weaponized version of Arya. Built to be perfect. Designed to replace her if she failed. She was made from your scans, the old man said. She knows your moves, but not your memories. The clone stepped forward. I am you, it said. But better. Arya's jaw tightened. No, she whispered. You're empty. And then the fight began. Metal clashed with muscle. The clone moved fast, just like Arya. It copied her moves. Anticipated her steps. They struck, blocked, twisted. The room trembled from their speed. But as the battle went on, Arya began to notice something. The clone hesitated every time Arya changed rhythm. Every time she moved with emotion, rage, grief, even hesitation, the clone paused, because it didn't understand why. It only knew how. Then Arya stopped moving. The clone rushed forward, aiming to finish the fight. But Arya didn't defend. Instead, she looked into the clone's eyes and spoke. I remember my brother, she said quietly. He cried during the bombing. I held his hand. He didn't let go, even when the sky fell. The clone froze. Its systems flickered. Its hands shook. I remember Earth's silence after the fires, Arya continued. I was buried under rubble. I screamed until my voice broke, but no one came. The clone stepped back, confused. Arya walked toward it slowly. You don't feel that. You don't remember. Because you're not real. You're not me. The clone's eyes dimmed. And then, it did something no one expected. It dropped to its knees. I surrender, it said. The old man's eyes filled with tears. Emotion was always Earth's weapon, he whispered. Not strength, not speed, but memory. Arya looked down at the clone. Ended? She asked. The old man shook his head. No, let it live. It's the last of its kind, and the first to understand. Arya nodded. Later, she climbed out of level 0, carrying the chip in one hand and the memory of what had happened in the other. When the soldiers arrived to stop her, they didn't raise their weapons. They just moved aside, because in their eyes, she was no longer a trainee. She was a symbol, a story, and no one wanted to be the fool who stood in her way. She carries a key and the galaxy trembles. Arya walked through the upper halls of Station Zeta 9 with the chip in her hand. She was calm, but every step she took made people move aside. Her name now echoed across military networks, alien channels, and even deep Earth systems. She had passed level 0. She had defeated her own clone, and now she carried the Aegis key, a key made from the lost technology of Earth's defense programs. And perhaps its last hope. In the command chamber, High Commander Setchel stared at the screen. His face was pale, his voice quiet. She's active, he said. The human girl is not a trainee anymore. Beside him, Commander Drakes kept his eyes on the door. What do we do? A junior officer asked. Setchel didn't answer, because he knew the truth. They couldn't stop her, and maybe they shouldn't. That night, Arya stood in the gravity garden, looking up at the stars. A soft voice spoke from behind. She surrendered, didn't she? Your clone. Arya didn't turn around. I didn't beat her, she said. I made her remember what she never lived. The voice belonged to Kira. A feline-like alien cadet who had once doubted her. Kira took a slow step forward. "I was wrong about you," she said. "You're not weak. You're not silent. You're something else." Arya finally turned. "I'm human," she replied simply. The next day, a ship landed on the Academy pad. Black, unmarked, silent dot. It was from the Intergalactic Union Corps. 2. Officers stepped out and walked straight to Arya. "You've been summoned," one said, "by the Joint War Council." Arya didn't flinch. Why? The officer didn't blink. Because the enemy that destroyed your world is returning. Inside the council chamber, leaders from 12 species sat around a glowing table. Holograms showed distant galaxies, unknown fleets, and war zones lit with fire. Arya stood in the center. "This is the Aegis chip," she said, placing it on the table. "It holds plans for Earth's final defense system." A lizard-faced admiral growled. Earth failed. Its systems were crushed. Arya's eyes narrowed. Earth didn't fail. It was betrayed. The chip proves it. Gasps filled the room. The chip's hologram projected something horrifying. Coordinates, messages, secret communications. Between Earth's enemies and allied species. The room went silent. Someone whispered, "We started the war. Outside the chamber, messages were already spreading. The cadets saw the news. The generals read the warnings. And somewhere deep in the shadows of space, an ancient enemy received the signal. She's awake. And they feared her. Not because of her strength. Not because of her speed, but because she carried Earth's last weapon. Truth. And now the galaxy trembled. Arya stood at the window of her assigned ship. Soon she would leave Station Zeta-9. Not as a student, not as a mystery, but as a warrior. Earth had hidden until now. She looked out at the stars and whispered, "I'm not the last. I'm the first." The day silence became a walkery. The ship moved through the black of space like a shadow. Inside, Arya stood alone in the command chamber. She wore no medals, no rank, no fancy armor. Just her quiet stare, and the Aegis chip locked into her. Wrist unit. Outside her window, stars drifted by. But this wasn't peace. It was the breath before war. The enemy had a name now. The Varnics. Swarm. They were the ones who helped destroy Earth. Not with full fleets at first, but through betrayal. Sabotage. Whispers to Earth's allies. Promises made in the dark. Now they were coming again. This time, not to destroy Earth, it was already gone, but to erase every trace it left behind, including Arya. Station Zeta-9 had changed since she left. Cadets trained harder. Officers spoke her name with respect. Even Vakor, the once arrogant apex warrior, now led a squad under her command. "You broke me," he told her, "and I needed it." She said nothing, but she nodded. As war fleets gathered, the Intergalactic Council gave her a message. "You are not just a soldier," they said. "You are a symbol." Arya replied, "I don't want to be a symbol. I want to be a warning." The first battle came at the edge of the Tyros field. The Varnic swarm moved fast, hundreds of ships, weapons sharp and alive. No mercy, no reason. But Arya's ship didn't retreat. It went straight into the fire. On the battlefield, she moved like before, calm, precise, unblinking. Her team followed her lead. Alien soldiers, once unsure of humans, now trusted her more than their own captains. Inside the enemy vessel, she activated the Aegis key. A hidden Earth protocol launched. Code name, Warcry. Suddenly, ancient Earth technology roared back to life satellites hidden in deep space. AI fleets buried in asteroid fields. Forgotten drones sleeping beneath moons. They answered her call. The Varnics, for the first time, hesitated. And in that moment, Arya struck. Her team boarded the swarm's command ship. She walked through fire and death, silent and steady, until she reached the swarm queen. The queen hissed, a creature of wires and shadows. "You are Earth's last breath," she said. "Just another ghost." But Arya looked into her eyes, and for the first time in 6 chapters, she spoke loudly. "No, I am Earth's voice, and I'm not alone." With one motion, she plunged her energy blade through the queen's core. The ship exploded behind her, but she walked out alive. When she returned to the fleet, soldiers gathered in silence. Aliens, hybrids, machines. No one moved, no one spoke. Until Commander Drake stepped forward and saluted. Then Vakur. Then the others. Not because of orders, but because she had become what no one expected. A girl once. Silent in class? Now the loudest warcry the galaxy had ever heard. The end.